Okay, welcome to the second Open Music tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about inversion, interval inversion. I'm going to show you two ways to do that. So I'm going to reopen my folder here. I'm going to right click, create a new patcher. I'm going to call it tutorial 2. Double click. Okay, so the first method will work like this. We'll create a node object. We'll actually create two node objects. I'm going to do this. I'm going to press select it, press M so I can see what's in it. I'm going to press Option, click and drag. So now I have two. So let's just say that, I want to show you one more way that you can change these values in here, because right now we've seen how we can just type in let's say 7,000, and then we can connect it, the outlet, evaluate it. But you could also not use this and go directly into the object, double click it and just drag it. You can also select the note and use your cursor to go down, and how each the quantity of the transposition up and down that you'll get depends on this and the approximation. If I go to half steps, every time I press the arrow up, it'll go up a half step. So of course if I have an eighth, then it'll go up by an eighth of a tone, and so on and so forth. So let's just do our usual C. Let's do D. What the heck? Okay, so let's just say that this is a D. We know this is a D because we just saw it. And let's say that the next one is a B. So we're going to change the approximation here to half. Excuse me. There we go. All right. This like that. Hold on one second. Let's do that again. Okay, I know what's going on. There we go. I was looking for the value to end with either with 100 or to be a multiple of 100. Okay, it's fine. Just being nerdy. All right. Excellent. So make sure that looks the same. Yep, perfect. Okay, so we have, we have a D and a B. Excellent. Now this looks like a C, but it's actually a B if you double click it. All right. So what we want to do is we want to measure the distance between these two, which is another way of saying, because remember in open music everything is a number. All notes are just numbers. So what we want to do is we want to calculate the difference between these two notes. So what we'll do is we'll do OM minus, which is of course the opposite of what OM plus does. And then we're going to take the first note, we're going to take the second note, and we're going to take the first note minus the second. We can look at the value by selecting that and evaluating it. So we get minus 900, which is good. So now what we want to do is we're trying to invert the interval, remember. So what we want to do is we want to actually add this value to this value so that we get the inversion. So we double click, do OM plus, and we now have, click and drag this outlet onto the left. I'm using my trackpad, which is actually not very good for this. I should be using a mouse, except I can't find it. So now let's stretch this so you can see a little better what's happening. I could change colors here, blue, blue, blue. There's no need to do that. I'm just doing it. All right. Let's see, we could do that or something so you can see. Perfect. Okay, so then when we select the plus sign, we see that there's what we got as a result is, okay, so we started off with this pitch, which was 6200. And then we had another pitch, which was 7100. The difference between the two was 900. So this minus 900, because of course if I add a negative number, I'll get, it's the same as saying minus. So I now here, let's do another thing that will help you see this better. If I type print, I can now look at what this value is. That's one reason I actually like to put in an actual number here so I can keep track of what it is, because it's so hard to see this. And besides, who knows what all these values are by memory, right? So if I select print and then I press evaluate, I see the original value, and now I can compare the two, right? So you see what happened. So now what we need to do is combine these together in a way that a chord object will understand. So let me tell you what this is in a second. We're going to create a chord object, and if you remember, chord objects recognize things in this kind of format, parentheses, maybe, you know, C, oops, D, right? And what it'll do is it'll take this and it'll combine it together into a chord, okay? So we need to combine this value, once again, which has no parentheses, this value, combine it together into a list, and the object that will actually do that is xAppend. So we combine these two together. Let's look at what it looks like on the listener, and it's exactly perfect. No, it's not perfect at all. Oh, I know what I did wrong, sorry. Right, what we're looking for is this, the original value, plus the one that's transposed. There we go, that's better. So we'll get rid of this. We'll put this into the second inlet, evaluate it. Now, so this is one way to do it. So of course we took these two notes which were separate and we combined them together, made it into a single chord. Now, what you see is the inversion of this interval. So one thing I want to mention about the chord object is here, if you look at the second menu, it allows you to look at things in different ways. So you could look at the pitches in ascending order or in descending order, or in the actual order in which you put them, which is what we kind of want, right? Because we had D going to B, now we have D going down to F, right? Perfect. So that worked. The second way, second method for transposition that I wanted to show you, I guess we can do this. We'll just take it, we'll use the same pitches. Okay, what we're going to do is actually start off with a, sorry, let me do this for a second. Start off with a chord and then doing the inversion. So let's take this value, oops, 6200, and we'll add it to, we'll combine it with 7100. So 6200, 7100, oh, sorry, 6200, 7100. There we go. And we'll create a chord. Oh man, keep typing everything. There we go. Open it and you can resize it. There. Put the outlet in here and evaluate it. Excellent. So we now see it as a chord. Now, of course, remember, you can ask Open Music to show you the interval in order, the pitches in order. However, that will still not display, it will still display it just straight up as a chord on the outside. So you can only see that on the inside, okay? All right, very good. Now, what we need to do, oh, another thing that we could do is we could use an object which is called x to, wait, what happened to my x? To dx. And what this is going to do is it's going to look at, calculate the intervallic distance between the two pitches. So what does that mean? If I evaluate this, I now get 900, which means that 7200, the 7100 minus 7200 is 900, which is, in other words, the distance between the two pitches. Okay? So then what we could do is we could take that and turn it into a negative value. So we'll create a number box with a -1, and then we'll use this object called OM multiply. And what we're going to do is we're going to essentially just take that number, multiply it by -1, which of course is just going to give us the same value, but negative. Okay, excellent. Then I'm going to show you one more object, which is very simple but very useful object, which is called first. What this object does, and of course there are several of those, there's second, third, fourth, it doesn't go on infinitely, but it goes on to maybe 8 or 9. What this object does, it allows you to take a list and only see the first element of it. Okay, so we need that first element, and then we're going to use another object which is the opposite of this one, which is dx to x. And what we'll do is, what this takes is a starting point, and then it takes either a single or a set of intervals. And then what it'll do is it'll essentially create a scale, starting from this pitch, following this intervallic pattern. In this case, it's just one interval. So what we'll get is 6200, 5300, which of course is the same result we had here. And then if we take chord, I'm going to do this very quickly. I do need to use a mouse. This is driving me crazy. Okay, I'm going to drag the outlet. Boom. So there's one. Same thing. So those are two different ways to calculate inversions of intervals. Thank you for watching.